them yet. We're not necessarily understanding what their needs are.
Yeah, and that's what we are talking about. One of the things that Nandita mentioned is they are on their own. And I'm going to come back to Nandita with a question about gender in this story. But before that, I want you to talk a little bit more about this. They are on their own. And how does the financial system, how will the financial system look at them going forward, this person who is on his own?
So it's a very interesting thing. We at Paytm, when we started, we thought that payment is the way to bring a heartbeat to the small shopkeeper who otherwise is not doing any compliance, or there is no other way to identify this person exists in the financial ecosystem out there. And payment concentrated, single place, you can identify, oh, there is someone. Now it's next level trouble. That how do you identify this as a person that exists in a financial system? If you don't exist in a financial system, you don't exist to be served. It's a very yes and no, uninclusive world out there. And if the payment could solve for SMB, and we are seeing the dividends of that, here it is an individual. It's not even a business. And the business is so incrementally, uncomfortably, uncompromising. There is no skilling, etc. done there. So not sounding like as if that I am not going to support the commercial benefit behind it. I'm going to say that this is an opportunity for us where whether you talk about how do you build for these people, deposit, wealth, and obviously there is no doubt about it, credit is the mother of all requirement that these people can do. But this is also the consumption economy of this country actually. I would rather say that when we are looking at grant-led ecosystem, so you have different grants that the state gives to gender or anyone, but these people are not the grant border either. So it's a very interesting, large demography which is not getting grant, which is not running a business, and it's still jiska koi nahi apna to khud aaye yaro type ki state hai. And I truly want to give a hats off. This is incredible movie that was made, and I as a Paytm can only say that I wish that our financial system, which has its own obligation to remain risk-free and remain stable for everyone, does a lot more to expand and extend to these customers. And we all know that problem is that the big financial institutions always have a lot to do, and a younger financial institution needs to have sustainability sorted out and many other risk factors, etc., sorted out. So it's sort of a yes and no. It's a very complex situation, and it's a structural problem, if you will.
Yeah, it is a no man's land, because in any large institution, many of you must be from large institutions, what we always learned was the 80-20 principle, that 80% of your profits come from 20% of your customers. So actually 95% of your attention goes to those 20% customers, right? And on the other hand, when you build for scale, then like you said, you run into all these challenges of how do you get your arms around the risk, or how do you simple things like identify that customer.
I'll tell you one interesting fact. We were trying to work with some gig economy companies that can we help them receive. Typically, I'm sure many of us know payday loans or salary loans, early salary kind of products where you get money in advance. Even that is not possible here because there is no predictability they want to give. Yeah. And in fact, as Paytm, we recruit lots of people who deploy the soundbox or QR codes on counter. I also learned that there is a skilling level of problem or their commitment to the single job problem. So we are converting them to say, take a full-time job. Why are you roaming around at places? Why do you think you should be individual performer, consultant kind of job? So it's a little bit of a big issue, I would say. And if we all believe the economy has to become bigger and large, this is the most important sector which is unlooked and overlooked right now.
Sure. So Nandita, I want you to talk a little more about this this person, because I want people to be able to visualize this. By the way, if you didn't see the film, Kapil Sharma really did an outstanding job. But his wife, Shahana Goswami, she did a completely mind-blowing job, because she also has this whole, I want you to talk about her. Earlier in the morning, Chetna was on a panel with me, and we were talking about building for this woman. Who is this woman? What does she need? Just tell us a little bit more about both of them, actually, just as people.
Yes. So, Manas is the character. I will not get into the actors' name, Kapil and Shahana.
Okay.
But Manas's wife, Pratima, she's a low middle class woman, has never worked and is a homemaker, taking care of everything at home, which is a thankless job, undervalued as we know. And when there is a financial crisis, a lot of the women have stepped up. As we know, during COVID, across class, women have found new ways to earn. So she starts exploring within the unorganized sector, whether it is massaging a rich woman, those kind of jobs where she can earn a little more. And while the film is really about this gig worker and his family, and primarily the gig worker, and I want to create that sense of empathy, especially as consumers, to understand what their life is all about, what are the struggles of this man. When it comes to their relationship, in fact, often the empathy shifts to the woman, because despite being who he is, he's a nice man, he's trying to struggle, he's trying to do the best for his family, he's also brought up in a patriarchal system. There is no sort of denying that. And the tussle between the two is also an important aspect, like the kind of discomfort that the man feels when the woman may start earning more. Because she also aspires to be in this more official, more, sort of glamorous looking, unorganized sector, like working in a mall as a cleaner. So not just the fact that he feels that she's going to earn more, but what if she's going to clean toilets? So there's also a caste thing. In our country, there's so much of intersectionality of religion, of class, of caste and gender, that you can't, if you tell a story, even though this is a story of a 4-day in the life of a gig worker, you're actually touching upon all these aspects that are just there. I mean, they are all hidden in plain sight. We know them, but we don't really see them, or we choose not to see them. So therefore, their relationship also forms an important sort of crux and anchor to that story.
Shanjini, I have a question based on what Nanda just now told about. We say that money doesn't have any caste or gender or any religion, but it seems like yourself, and we just now talked, and we talked about Mandeshi Foundation, ma'am also here. Is there a obligation to think for financial services for women as a different way? Why should it be? I mean, I understand that there are needs as women, there is different, and as a housemaker, there is something else. But is the financial system going to be thinking in a different way from a different vantage point if they're solving for women, and whether they are in gig economy or otherwise?
You want her to answer?
I want you to answer,
You
because
are
you're the champion of...
Okay, so I'm very good with anecdotes. So I'll tell you, when I joined Citi, for example, one of my friends got very excited, and she said, "Oh, I'm your customer." She's the CEO of a company. So I went to work, and I said, "This friend of mine is is a customer. Can you find out what relationship she has?" And the team said, "We can't find her on record." And I said, "She has no reason to not tell me the, truth. So can you look again?" So after 2 days, they came back and they said, "Oh yeah, we found her." So I said, "But why didn't you find her earlier?" And they said, "Because she was tagged as household, because her husband is also a CEO and he is the customer." So I'm just giving you this example because these systems would have been set 20, 30, 40 years ago. And the way financial system built itself, it assumed, I mean, one of my very educated, erudite friends always argues with me. He says, ये क्या कर रही हो? ये औरतों के लिए बना रही हो, मतलब क्या होता है? पैसा तो फैमिली का होता है. ऐसे कहने का मतलब पैसा आदमी का होता है. So, the fundamental structure of ownership of money and the way money gets used is different in households between the man and the woman. So if you don't think that, if you don't design that, and Chetna will have a lot to add, and my team will have a lot to add from the product perspective, from the distribution perspective, from the solution perspective, from the data perspective, even to capture that data. I gave you the Citi example just to show that, even to capture that data. कई लोग हम interview करते हैं, so I will ask कि, "Oh, you're coming from XYZ company with so many million clients. Tell me how many million of your clients are women." And they say, "We don't keep that record."
इसको हमें ये मानना चाहिए कि विमेन का ख्याल नहीं रख रहे, या हमें इसको इक्वलिटी मानना चाहिए कि वो स्प्लिट नहीं करना चाहते? मतलब देयर आर टू वेज टू लुक एट इट. आई डोंट स्प्लिट माय कस्टमर बेस इनटू जेंडर एंड आई ट्रीट देम ऑल इक्वल, or do you think that they are not able to take care of you?
So Vijay, since you are the only man on this panel, I have to tell you this, and that being gender blind does not count for equality.
Oh, that's a statement of the day.
Being gender
blind is not equality.
Does not count for equality.
Wow, very nice.
To make equal, you will need to be aware of that. ये जो पूरी debate है ना कि मतलब आप women's cricket.
अच्छा, मैं आपको संजनी, क्योंकि हमारे साथ बैंक के बोर्ड पे हैं, पेटीएम बैंक के बोर्ड पे भी है, तो मैं आपको एक रियल स्टोरी जो हमारे सीईओ ने सुनाई बताता हूँ कि हमने कुछ इंक्लूजन सेंट्रिक ऑफ विमेन एजेंडा के अंतर्गत बैंक अकाउंट खोले और वो रूरल पंजाब में खोले. एंड यू मे नॉट बिलीव इट, वो लेडीज ने आके हमारे सारे डेबिट कार्ड वगैरह जो बीसीज ने दिए वो सब फेंक दिए. इसका कारण ये था कि जो उसके हमारा एक प्रोसेस था जिसके अंदर उनके घर पे हमें लेटर या वो भेजना था जिससे उनके हस्बैंड को पता चला और उन्होंने फिजिकल वायलेंस का विक्टिम बन गया. उन्होंने बोला कि अकाउंट बंद करा के आओ. And all because that there was an obligation in financial system to send a letter that you have a physical existence, and that physical existence created a nightmare for them. उन्होंने बोला हमें तो आपने बोला था कि अब अकाउंट खुल गया, हम साइड में कुछ पैसे बचा लेते, लेकिन अब आपने घर में लेटर भेज दिया, अब हमारे कसम को पता चल गया, उसने हमारे साथ.
So you have answered your question.
Well, I understand, and you've been a central banker, so my question to
I knew it was going to get to that.
my intention was to say that is there something specific in finance we have to do to serve women of this country?
Nandita, what would have worked for Pratima? If you can take a shot at that. I mean,
I think a lot of these women are instinctively very smart, right? You multitask, you manage a house. To manage a house is no less than managing a company. It may not be seen as the same. So I think it just takes that access, that confidence that yes, I can do it. And some of this needs that affirmative action. It's like for the longest time, I grew up thinking that, you know, I don't care about caste. My parents have never talked to me about caste. So it doesn't really exist for me. And I realized the minute you say, I don't care about caste, you can only say it because it's a privilege. You never have to think about caste. Yeah. So it's easy to say. The person who comes from a caste that is suppressed, oppressed, where you have to remember it every single day, that person will never say that caste doesn't matter. So it's in the same way I would say that it's easier to say that gender, does it really matter? Can one be agnostic to gender? You really can't, because there are different lived experiences, different struggles. So therefore, the systems also have to understand and cater to that. Yeah. And that's why sometimes, you know, we live in such silos. Like, I know nothing about this sector. I would not even know probably 2 people in the entire, you know, the 35,000 people that are here. I probably know 2 people because our worlds just never meet. Yeah. But they're for people like me who are sort of more in the artist world or in the social sector, we need to understand that it's a handicap. There's no joy in saying I know nothing about finance, and Shinjini has been trying to convince me that I need to know more, and there is a natural resistance.
And you know more now.
I probably know a little more thanks to you and your team. But similarly, we cannot create, I feel, financial solutions without understanding the social, cultural, all of these other other factors that play such an important role in a person's life or in a community's life.
Yeah, and money. So Vijay, I want to bring this, both these conversations back to the idea of money, right? Because money is so integrally tied to your dignity in many ways until you have enough of it that it doesn't matter. It is very much a tool which gives
इतने पैसे के पास पैसा मैटर नहीं करता वैसे. मुझे लगता है जिसके पास बहुत पैसे होते हैं वो और पैसा लेता है. नहीं शिंजनी, मेरा ये मानना है, दुनिया में हम एक बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंग कन्वर्सेशन हो रहा था कि क्या चीज आप सबसे ज्यादा लोगों को बेच सकते हो. एंड पानी, एयर, क्लीन एयर, ऐसे करके डिस्कशन हो रहा था. तो मेरे रूम में किसी ने बोला पैसा. देखो, जिसके पास पैसा नहीं है उसको भी पैसा चाहिए, जिसके पास पैसा है उसको भी चाहिए, जिसके पास ज्यादा है उसको और ज्यादा चाहिए. तो आप जब ये बोल रहे हो कि मनी मैटर्स, इट इज द डिग्निटी, where is that benchmark that it becomes a dignity or not? I come from a family, my father didn't have money to, you know, at a time when my sisters were getting married, the financial system was not able to give him a 2 lakh rupee loan. I've seen the days when money has not been there, and a privilege of having a cup of tea is a privilege. So where is that border according to you, the dignity money is? So
I'm not going to fall in that trap, but what I'm going to do is to give you a compliment. And that is because, so one of the things that is very dignified about, I'm going to just say this about a Paytm app or a Google Pay app or even a Salt app, for example, any app, that as long as I have ensured myself of that basic platform, which is the smartphone, which is the data which fortunately is not so expensive anymore. I am same as you. So many times in my car, my driver will be, because there are two ends to that transaction, and one person will typically be a receiver,
Correct.
one person will be a giver.
Yeah.
So that is what I mean by that dignity. Whereas in the earlier system, you would not have that parity. So where I want to reposition this conversation is to say that where are we in this journey to make that, to start thinking about creating that space for this Manas and his wife Pratima.
Yeah. So interestingly, all commercial business organizations will look at per customer value, acquisition cost, and serving cost, and making some money, if not in a small cohort but a larger cohort. Now there are some bold bets people take. For example, I can say that we could take a payment bold bet that if we solve for payment, a lot of things will be solved and money will come later. But when you look at this cohort, the banking or the credit or many other services are not going to be taken bold bets. Many of financial system bold bets are systematic risk to financial system. Many of the bold bets in financial system could create a ripple of risk in the financial system itself. So if you want to give credit to these people, it is not even an inclusion job. It is not even a grant job. It is a risk job. Now, you know what I'm trying to tell you here is, it could be termed as reckless. It may not be even termed that you're being inclusive here.
So I thought Nandita would put the ink in the water and muddy it, but you have actually thrown the ink in the water and muddied it. So now you will have to talk more about it, because we can't just get away with that excuse.
No, my theory is that it's a problem that I'm personally solving. My personal ambition is now to give 100 million people a loan. If we got 100 million merchants on payments or 100 million customers on payment, this is a cycle that will take over. Now the 100 million people, how do they get credit? And I'm learning the risks that just like that extending, you can raise equity and give investments in the market to do something, but credit is not that. It's a systematic, linearly connected system. So maybe the solution that I believe, like Nanta ma'am has done this great movie, some set of people have to come together and do a risk underwriting, FLDG, the loss underwriting. Somebody has to do a good job of saying, I stand for these. So I invite all gig companies and say that this is my fund, which is a first loss fund. Why don't you extend financial system to them?
And I totally agree with that. And that's the kind of conversation. And I think that's the kind of conversation that we need to have more and more, that instead of running away, because obviously in the safe space, we are all safe, right? Like, but the moment you want to go outside of it, there will be more risk and new type of risk, and who will do that? So that's the next question. And I do want to give people the time to ask questions, because I can't be hogging all this time. But Nandita, I'll give you if you have something to add to what he said, and then I'll actually start taking questions.
No, I just wanted to say that, not so much to add, but the reason, like you started with, why did I do the film? And I think, again, going back to the fact that we know so little about the other. As consumers, one can say, what can we do? You know, of course, it's benefiting us. We are using the app. What is it that differently we can do? Many of these apps, I shouldn't say all because there's no study, but most of them are really for the benefit of the consumer. Now, you know, every app, every food delivery or various apps have this instant thing. Like in 20 minutes, you can get your grocery. What can be so pressing that as consumers, we are all right with somebody meeting an accident or, you know, risking their lives to deliver something to us in less than 20 minutes. So I think just to be able to see lives of others, to be able to see what difference can I make, how is there a symbiotic relationship between the people who, quote unquote, serve us and the comfort that we want. And I think to be able to understand that, because cinema can't create revolutions, it only can trigger conversations, maybe create some empathy, you know, to look at our own evils, to see our own prejudices and biases, and that's the attempt of art. And I would only request that we have more such interdisciplinary things, because like a lot of the women do not get the kind of films or even funding from producers because they are always seen as people who do not know how to handle finances. So if there is any training for even women filmmakers, I'll definitely sign up and get a bunch of women to understand, because it can't be rocket science. We're dealing with 100 other things, but we've kind of internalized this idea that, finance means lots of numbers and we won't be able to understand all the acronyms that you use, and therefore we'll be at a disadvantage.
So I'm going to open it to questions, and while the mic gets across, I do want to give you the chance to ask each other a question if you have a question for the other panelist, or...
Okay, so you're asking public to ask.
Yeah, but if Nandita has a question for you, she can ask.
Okay, there is a mic. I have a question to you, Sanjani, here. You've seen it from different vantage points for financial problems to be solved. Which one it is for a gig economy worker that is the sequencing of problem to be solved? Is it a bank, which is like deposit? Is it a credit? Is it like extending long-term saving? Is it insurance? What?
So I'm sure, Vijay, I'll ask your thoughts, but I'll tell you, in my understanding, the saving problem is quite a bit solved. And the payment problem, obviously, you guys have already done a great job of solving it. According to me, the job that remains to be solved is the security problem, the insurance plus pension, because like we were talking, our parents' generation totally relied on their employers for health benefits and for social security. Now, the nature of work has changed so much that very few people are going to actually either get those jobs or have the choice to make those jobs. Now, in that scenario, what is most important is how do you navigate through this life where you have, periods of not earning, or you may retire early or whatever. How do you smoothen your money flow? So that's why I don't think credit is the answer according to me. The answer actually is good wealth management and insurance. But I'll tell you my favorite idea, okay? Because maybe you'll get it done.
Sure. Audience here.
I just wanted to add a little thing. What you talked about, the Venn diagram, they're not employees, so you don't get those benefits.
Yes.
Yeah.
The minute you're called a partner, and partner is supposed to be inherently a more equal space, which is not true at all.
Yes.
In fact, हमारी फिल्म में एक dialogue है, partner बोल के मालामाल तो आप ही हो रहे हैं. वाला हिसाब है.
So I'll tell you, my favorite thing is that because Indian economy has so much of this interdependence and so many wealthy households, which are also getting wealthier, employ so many people, we should actually be allowed to buy pension plans and health insurance for our staff and claim tax deductions for it. That's my favorite idea.
Okay. मैं पहुंचा दूंगा जहां पहुंचा सकता. Yes, you have a question. Yes, sir. Okay. This is an eco room. What you
Vijay gets to choose who will ask the question because he knows.
Yeah, please. There's no mic that is reaching. You could ask the question just like that.
Run the mic, run.
Yeah.
ये वाला time मैं आप पे charge करने वाली हूँ.
Hi sir, big fan basically like अगर मेरे को I want to ask like if you have to start
how many people speak Hindi in this room? People speak Hindi in this room. ये हिंदी बोलते टाइम पे
ठीक है
प्रॉब्लम है यार. हिंदी
बढ़िया मैं सर हिंदी पंजाबी बोल सकता हूँ.
जो भी बोलो वो बोलो. कोई लैंग्वेज पे तो हम डिवाइड ना करें कंट्री को कम से कम.
नहीं सर ठीक है. तो मेरे को बोलना है कि अगर आपको आज स्टार्टअप अगर करना हो तो किस चीज में करोगे अदर देन फिनटेक, एंड बेसिकली आपको किस चीज में फ्यूचर दिखता है, और जैसे जो यंग एंटरप्रेन्योर्स हैं क्या एडवाइस करोगे, मतलब एक पर्टिकुलर जिसमें ग्रोथ.
तो ये मेरा डिस्कशन मेरा फ्रेंड सचिन बंसल है, जब वो फ्लिपकार्ट से निकला था तब मेरी 3 घंटे की लंबी कन्वर्सेशन हुई. वो आंसर आज भी वैलिड है. आई सेड ईदर डू एन ईवी इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल इकोसिस्टम प्ले और डू अ फाइनेंशियल सर्विसेज प्ले, एंड बोथ ऑफ देम आर बेट फॉर 2030 तक.
ओके, थैंक यू सर.
हाय, गुड इवनिंग. मैं भी हिंदी में ही बात करूंगा. आई जस्ट नीड वन एक क्वेश्चन था. Specifically, अगर फॉर एग्जाम्पल व्हेन वी वांट टू प्रोवाइड फाइनेंस टू बिग गिग वर्कर, तो आपको लगता है कि कोई रेगुलेटरी चेंजेस करना चाहिए या कुछ पॉलिसी रिफॉर्म्स लाना चाहिए स्पेसिफिकली फॉर दिस काइंड ऑफ गिग वर्कर, एंड हाउ कैन वी एड्रेस दैट?
एक्चुअली गवर्नमेंट्स डिफरेंट स्टेट गवर्नमेंट्स इस पे अटेंशन डाल रहे हैं, क्योंकि ये एक तरह से आइडेंटिफाइड जॉब बन गया है. पहले इसको लोग मानते थे जॉब नहीं है, पहले इसको लोग मानते थे इट इज नॉट अ लॉन्ग टर्म एम्प्लॉयमेंट, बट द मोर द प्लेटफॉर्म एंड द इकोनॉमी विच इज ऑन डिमांड इकोनॉमी इज ग्रोइंग, दिस इज आइडेंटिफाइड. सो आपको पता होगा कर्नाटका और राजस्थान स्टेट्स कुछ कर चुके हैं, किसी और स्टेट में बात हो रहा है. सो गवर्नमेंट इज पुटिंग एन अटेंशन टू इट. रेगुलेशन से ज्यादा जरूरत है कि इनको एक फॉर्मलाइजेशन अटेंशन मिल जाए, विच इज इक्वल टू रेगुलेशन इन माई ओपिनियन दैट यू आर सेइंग. So yes, government is putting an attention and that would make legitimize. देखो जिस दिन स्टार्टअप को हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी ने बोला स्टार्टअप इंडिया, तब हम लेजिटिमाइज हो गए थे. जिस दिन इनको कोई बोल देगा कि ये हमारे वर्कर, तो ये लेजिटिमाइज हो जाएंगे.
Thanks.
इनफैक्ट राजस्थान गवर्नमेंट ने किया है एक्ट, गिग इकोनॉमी एक्ट कभी निकाला है, जो अरुणा रॉय और निखिल दे जिन्होंने आरटीआई पे बहुत काम किया, जिनकी वजह से आज आरटीआई है, उन्होंने एक बहुत अच्छा आर्टिकल भी लिखा इंडियन एक्सप्रेस में. इफ यू वांट टू रीड दैट, इट्स अ वेरी इनसाइटफुल.
तो नंदिता मैम, आपसे सवाल पूछता हूँ. आप क्योंकि मूवी बनाते हो तो आप उस दूसरी तरफ से भी देखते हो. जब हम एक कंप्लायंस रिक्वायरमेंट बढ़ाते हैं किसी कंपनी के लिए, सो आर वी सपोर्टिंग दैट सेक्टर एंड द जॉब और आर वी रिड्यूसिंग?
I think there are, we are losing nuances in every conversation. It doesn't need to be so polarized. We can have a gig economy that serves the consumers, that is profit making, and at the same time, mindful of the needs and the anxieties and the struggles of the gig workers. So I think it has to be, it's not an either or situation.
So I'm taking a contrarian opinion on the table, and it is because I have to, we are on a panel and we have to offer, and none of us are in the business of this, that as soon as we start adding more costs or benefits, so more cost meaning convenience fee of the platform, or the delivery fees and convenience fees start to get in the system. That reduces the TAM. That overall reduces even the industry size. As you may be aware, once upon a time, taxi on demand used to be a large service. It's fairly small because people no more use it. So did it help the ecosystem? Did it not help the ecosystem?
I think there are other costs. I mean, money is not the only cost, right? I mean, there's a human cost, there's an environmental cost. जैसे बाहर से जब investment आता है, कोई बड़ा एक environmental project हो रहा है, या any project, a mining project or a road project, we look at the investment that's coming in. We are not looking at the environmental degradation. I'm a mother of a 13-year-old, and not just for my child, but this is not a cliche, but what is the world that we are leaving behind? So when we measure that project, are we going to take in account the environmental degradation that's going to happen, the human loss that's going to happen? Are these, the things that are not measurable in money? Unfortunately, I know this is the wrong place to talk about, but we've given so much importance to money that we have,
this is
ignored
perfect
all
fintech
else.
panel. यहाँ पे पैसे की measurability, dignity में भी थी और measurable भी नहीं है. Very nice. I like the
Excuse
question.
me, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
We've all heard about
You have a
fortune at
mic.
the bottom.
I don't see you here. Okay, here. Okay.
Fortune at the bottom of the pyramid. We women, working women, depend on our domestic help to work. And now that's a huge opportunity, and why is it so difficult to tap into them? To give you one example, my cook who makes my rotis and sabzi, she says it takes her 25 minutes to walk to my place, and it's too tiring, and she's going to stop working from today because she can't afford a cycle. So that's an opportunity lying right over there. She's someone who works and she's going to stay over there she's been there for the last 15 years. She's going to continue staying over there because she's got 5 houses that she works in. So your risk is also taken care of. She's not going to go away from there overnight. So how do we solve? I don't even look at it as a problem that needs to be solved.
No, it does need to be solved. And I'll tell you one thing, because you raised the issue of cycle. I have always long said that the difference between boys and girls is wheels. So actually, every state that started to give cycles to girls actually improved their parameters on women participation in workforce. And now there are bus fares that are being waived and things like that. So on a policy side, there is something being done. I want Vijay to talk about फाइनेंस साइड इफ यू हैव एनी.
नहीं, मैं तो बहुत ही जेन्युइनली मैम आई एम्पैथाइज विद यू. मेरा एक दोस्त मेड इन इंडिया एक स्टार्टअप बनाने वाला था इसी कारण से, MAID इन इंडिया, क्योंकि आपने जो बात बोला उसका कारण ये था कि यहाँ पे मेड की प्रॉब्लम बहुत होती है. तो आप जो बोल रहे हैं, अगर ये रियल है स्टोरी आज की, तो आई फील बैड फॉर इट. बट एज फार एज द सिस्टम सोल्यूशन इज कंसर्न, द फाइनेंशियल सिस्टम डज नॉट ट्रस्ट समवन हु इज नॉट स्टेबल. So unless that household takes a guarantee, which is a very long commitment, I think this is where Shinjini also gives an example, and I want to tell you, आपके यहाँ पे जो दूध वाला आता है उसका महीने का पेमेंट हम बाद में करते हैं. बहुत सारे पेमेंट हम पोस्ट पेड करते हैं, अखबार वाला, दूध वाला, समटाइम इवन द मेड वी आर पेइंग लेटर. एंड यू नो व्हाट, that person's cash flow is so small and minuscule that a week or two delay can cost havoc in their life. So what you're saying, ma'am, is perfectly true. from starting to make sure the payment are in time. We may just pay a few hundred or few thousand rupees for flight cancellation, and we would bother about the salary upgrade to these people at an even inflation rate. So, ma'am, what you're saying is bang on. The journey begins at home. The charity or the commitment to change the fortune of these people begins at home and begins at self. So, thank you so much. Very well said.
So I think we are towards the close of our time, but I do want to get closing remarks from both of you on what should this room be doing? What would make us take care of the gig worker and take into account that the future of work is different from the past in terms of building financial products?
Somebody will take an ownership and do it.
Somebody will take ownership and do it. You are already doing it.
I think it'll begin, like we said, whosoever is the recipient of their hard work has the first obligation and responsibility. As home, we have responsibility to people who serve at home. As companies who call them partner और सारा माल अपने पास ले जाते हैं, उनकी responsibility अगर वो माल ले जा रहे हैं कि उनका due उनको दिया जाए. जब कोई व्यक्ति काम करता है, तो उसका fair and square उसको मिलना चाहिए. कोई और उसके alternate नहीं है.
And we need to build a system that can support
and those
and
people
take into
who are giving its due
Yeah.
need to look at and learn about financial services. जैसा अभी हम समझ रहे थे, none of us actually much are trained on financial services or needs of financial kind. What do the systems exist for? वो training अगर सबको मिलेगी, mass level पे मिलेगी, तो मेरा मानना है कि people at home, people in offices or the jobs or the companies they work for will do this thing. So maybe it's a education, maybe it's a movie, maybe it's a revolution, evolution that will initiate, but the journey will begin from the people who get the benefit of their job.
Okay, so I am listening to this and I'm thinking you're not the only one who benefits from, by the way, from this lady's roti sabzis. It's also your spouse, so I'm assuming that both people
तो
will.
बिल्कुल gender वाली बात फिर से नहीं आ रही।
Sorry, Nandita, I don't know if you had that in mind. Go ahead.
No, I mean, you all know more what needs to be done in the financial sector. But how can we create a more just system? Because many of you are also creating system, thinking of new startups. How can one, find ways to build that in right from the beginning, so that we don't have to sort of come midway and suddenly realize that, oh my God, this is an unjust system and now we need to fix it while this system has already started playing it out. So I don't know, but I just feel that if there is a way to, be more aware of these kind of costs that are beyond finances, and I know it's probably not the right thing to tell financial people,
No,
but
it's very much the right thing because in the end we
social
all
and-
want to live on this planet.
Exactly, no, and that's why what you said, that जिसके पास जितना पैसा है उसको और पैसा चाहिए. जावेद साहब की एक नज्म थी, उसमें एक लाइन थी कि बंबई में हर शख्स के पास एक कमरे की कमी है. मतलब एक कमरा बस अगर ज्यादा होता, जिसके पास 4 है उसको 5 चाहिए, जिसके पास 1 है उसको 2 चाहिए. So there's no end to that, and our systems are made such that we want to create greed. It's seen as a good thing today, right? I mean, a lot of the sectors feel the more you spend, this has become a sort of a cool cliche. That don't worry about earning, keep your spendings high, money will come. अब तो ये भी हो गया है कि भगवान दे देगा अगर आप ज्यादा खर्चा करोगे. So ऐसे जमाने में हम need को कैसे कम करें, कैसे justice करें? Maybe these are just utopian ideas.
I see it as immense opportunity, and I believe some of us, one of us in this audience and elsewhere on this GFF takes a commitment to solve for it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Such a pleasure. And thank you so much to the audience. Thank you, Nandita. Thank you, Vijay.
Check. Thank you very much, Shinjini. Thank you very much, Nandita and Vijay. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of another interesting conversation. And we're about to get up for a fireside chat. So I'm going to request all of you to also look forward to it and stay tuned as we invite our speakers. There's always the after effects after an interesting discussion wherein everybody would love to get in touch with our speakers. session. The discussion is all about innovation for inclusion. We're going to be having a fireside chat. As we all know that with revolutionary potential for that matter, fintech innovation may promote financial inclusion and actually provide marginalized populations around the world more power. So this particular discussion will actually examine groundbreaking developments and approaches that are bridging the unbanked access to financial services. I'm going to urge everyone to take their seats, of course, except the ones who are still carrying forward the discussion with our previous speakers. That's bound to happen. So while we do so, we'll also wait for the presence for our next set of speakers. They're about to join us. Note to our members of the audience, the ones who are seated here, thank you so much for your patience and your time. And I'm just going to put a quick word to all the ones who are still standing there. If you could please clear out the aisle area so that our speakers can also come in. And let me inform you that we're about to get started with our next session. Once again, let me remind you all that the theme for our next fireside chat, a very feisty topic around innovation for inclusion. And this particular session will be spearheaded by Shri Rajesh Bansal, Chief Executive Officer, Reserve Bank Innovation Hub. So Shri Rajesh Bansal will be moderating this discussion for us, and he will be extracting all the relevant inputs and insights flowing in from two revered speakers who are about to join us in a short while. So if I could request our team to let me know if all our speakers are in, we can get the session started. Meanwhile, I also hope you made most use of all the expo in the pavilion area. That being said, let me also inform you another very interesting tidbit that we've created at this congregation. Outside, I don't know if you've noticed, there are some digital standees. All you have to do is scan the QR code, and that way you can upload your photo. All the photos of yours that have been clicked at the GFF will be directly uploaded. So if you want to access your photos at the GFF, all you have to do is at the digital standees that are outside, just go ahead and click the QR code, scan the QR code, and upload your selfie. The moment you upload your selfie, thanks to tech, it'll automate and it'll find out your face and also find out all the relevant places that you've been smiling at. So I'm going to urge everyone to keep smiling. We've got these big boss like cameras somewhere or the other. They're all set to click some wonderful photographs for all of you. The pavilion is also open because that's where we have some interesting ideas as well as interesting initiatives that are at for all of you. So please do not miss out on the opportunity to connect with all our partner booths. On that note, I've been informed that all our speakers are here inside the hall. So let me please invite on stage Shri Rajesh Bansal, Chief Executive Officer, Reserve Bank Innovation Hub, who will be moderating this discussion for us. As I'd mentioned earlier, it's all about innovation for inclusion. But joining Mr. Bansal, we also have with us Cecilia Kingsley, Head BIS Innovation Hub, Bank for International Settlements. We also have Soraya M. Hakuziyaremye, who is the Board Vice Chairperson and Deputy Governor, National Bank of Rwanda. Can we give a warm swagat and a welcome to our international speakers, our amazing revered speakers have joined us here. Can we make that louder? Can we capture the pulse of India in your applause? And please help me welcome on stage Shri Rajesh Bansal, Cecilia Kingsley and Soraya M. Hakuziyaremye. With that, Mr. Bansal, over to you.
So very good afternoon, everyone. It's exciting to see all of you here. And with me are two people from two different continents who are making a difference to innovation around the world. So as the host introduced, I have with me Cecilia Kingsley, who is the ex-deputy governor of Swedish Riksbank, the bank, the oldest central bank, right? Cecilia, the oldest central bank, and I've been to the city where it all started. She is currently leading the BIS Innovation Hub.